Let me ask you something. By a show of hands, who here thinks they are creative? Interesting. So there could be a number of reasons why you didn't raise your hand. One, you might think that you're not very good at sketching or painting or knitting or crochet, if that's your thing. Two, the Mother's Day card that you made as a child, or even more recently last year, wasn't good enough to be put on the fridge. Or you might just not have felt confident to raise your hand, or you might think that you struggle to come up with original ideas, or you might have already got bored with this talk and started checking your Instagram feed. So whatever the reason, you wouldn't be surprised if I say that we are all born creative. Yes, we are. You are all creative. There isn't a single baby that I know who wasn't born creative. Babies are capable of rational decision-making. Localized brain activity happens from very early childhood. We see them constantly discovering new things, overcoming new challenges, making new connections. So I have 21-month-old twins. Yeah, I didn't always look like this. I must have aged at least a decade in the last 2 years. But they're busy all the time. And I see them overcoming problems all the time. You can't say no to them. They find ways of doing things. You know, when my eldest was around 3 years old, I saw her making this sketchbook, painting pages and pages of it in one single block of color, with this intense concentration on her face that, made my heart burst open with love. And then she looked up when she saw me watching her and said in her most serious voice, "I think I'm going to be an artist when I grow up. I think I'm really, really very good." Isn't that just amazing? So what happens when we grow older? When do we lose this ability, this confidence to say that we are creative? Do you remember the exact moment when you decided that you weren't creative? Studies have shown, and one carried out by NASA, they did this longitudinal study, and children at the age of 4 to 5, almost 98% of them believed that they were creative. But the same children, by the time they were 10 or 11, only about 30% of them believed that they were creative. Isn't that just a little sad? So we lose this ability to believe in ourselves, to make mistakes. We worry about failing, taking risks. We get put in a box, don't we? We get assigned these labels. So, what were you when you were growing up? I know I was the academic one. I wasn't certainly the sporty one, as you can perhaps tell. So we get assigned these labels: the smart one, the creative one, the arty one, the scientific one, the stupid one, the fat one, and we stay in these boxes as we grow up. I liked that box. It was cozy and comfortable, and I knew exactly what to be and how to behave. And as we grow older, we stay within these labels. When I was about 4 or 5, I asked my dad to draw me a bird. It looked nothing like a bird. And I was really, really very disappointed. And he just laughed and apologized, and he said he wasn't very creative, and it was okay for him to not be creative because he was good at maths. And maths and science were the serious subjects when I was growing up in India. They were the ones that were going to get us jobs. They were the ones that were for clever people, and they were for the boys. So I really had to take those subjects because I was a feminist, although I didn't realize it then. And I didn't have time to waste on any creative pursuits. Then I studied architecture. And it's the first time that I realized that the creative thread ran through everything that we did. It shaped civilizations, it shaped our societies. Architecture was the perfect combination of science, maths, and creative thinking. And it also made me realize that how it is a key to driving our evolution. Studies have shown that creativity has driven evolution for a long time and is crucial to our survival. So it's the first time that I seriously started thinking about creativity. Do you know that creativity is also key to sexual selection? Mate choice can be seriously affected or influenced by creative potential. Let's just take a moment to absorb that little nugget of information. Because if that doesn't inspire you to be creative, I don't know what will. So fast forward a few years, I came to the UK as a young single parent, I did my PhD, I climbed the academic ladder, and I put away creativity in a box, and so I thought. Then I faced workplace bullying. I was also severely burnt out. I was in a pretty bad place. It caused me severe social anxiety. Yes, it's really difficult for me to stand up here and talk to you today. I felt guilty that if I could work harder, maybe things will get better. I thought I was imagining things. I felt ashamed. I felt weak for giving up too easily. I felt like I was a snowflake. I had worked so hard to be good at this job, and I had to take a break from that. And I felt a sense of loss of self-worth and a loss of direction. I felt anxious, stressed, and I went from being this really self-confident person to somebody who felt really weak. And I was kind of at a loss of what to do. So I took up pottery, as you do. I'd never done any pottery before. I made loads of excuses for not doing this 1 hour per week. It was too far away. I had things to do at home. It was really important for me to be at home at that particular 7 to 8 on a Wednesday evening. But then I decided to give it a go. And I'm really pleased that I did. I had these visions that I was going to make these really beautiful dinner plates and vases in a jiffy. And just shaping this blob of mud into anything was a battle of wills. And believe me, we fought every week. And it was really, really hard. It was much harder than what I'd ever done anything before. I was really scared and anxious because being good at something was really important for me. And I wasn't the best at that. I didn't make any dinner plates or vases. Instead, I made some odd-shaped bowls and lots of funny-looking ashtrays. Who even has ashtrays in their houses anymore? But we proudly display them in our living room. Because I was really proud of this. Because I had pushed myself out of my comfort zone, and I had realized that I could actually rein in my expectations and be happy and have fun. I realized that being outside, stepping outside of your comfort zone is actually really good for creativity. I started regaining my creative confidence because I hadn't done anything creative for so long. I'd lost my creative confidence and my creative courage. I realized that discomfort and frustration might seem like really bad things, but actually they're really good to spark new ideas and to actually regain your creative courage. I also realized that it's very therapeutic to do something with your hands. For that 1 hour per week, I wasn't thinking about anything else. I wasn't anxious, I wasn't stressed, I wasn't worrying. It was really good for my mental well-being. And I was in this state of flow when I was trying to struggle with this blob of mud, trying to make something out of it, because it was hard. And this state of flow is related to being in a meditative state. Research has shown that it's like being mindful. It's mindfulness that creates well-being and it creates happiness. But it's really important to achieve that sweet spot, that sweet, sweet spot. And it takes a little bit of time and patience to get there, where you're comfortable enough to enjoy the challenge, but you find it challenging enough to not find it too comfortable. So we are all born creative, and we are all creative as babies, but we kind of lose it along the way. But it's like riding a bike. We don't actually lose it altogether. We just get afraid of making mistakes and of failing and of leaping into the unknown. So the happiness that I felt doing pottery permeated through the rest of the week. Happiness has a domino effect. Creativity also has a domino effect. Research has shown that creativity, doing something creative for just even 45 minutes can lower your level of cortisol, your stress hormone, massively. And I felt inspired to start not one but two businesses. I started looking at the world with fresh eyes and engaging with the world. And I became fascinated with creativity. Creativity is not just the left or right side of your brain, as was previously thought, but it's a series of dynamic, interconnected processes happening across many sides of your brain. And creativity is about making unusual connections. Creativity is problem solving. True creative people have a lot of endurance and grit, because when you realize that it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to fail, and that you can actually find a different path if one doesn't work out, you become resilient. You become able to take risks and to step into the unknown. So creativity is actually courage. Creativity is not about just sketching or painting or drawing. Creativity is a growth mindset. It's about an attitude. It's about happiness. Then, bang, my twins were born. So I was really enjoying this time. And my twins came along. And there's been a lot of research to show that motherhood has a huge impact on the creative process of a woman. I've in fact found that it's given me the impetus to create. The drive to nurture has given me the drive to create purpose and to create meaning. So I create when I'm singing, making up songs and singing them tunelessly to them, all the food that I make for them, and all these while these ideas are shimmering and sparkling and unprovoked, they're flitting about in my brain till I have time and space to put them into action. So it gives me the time and space to reflect and ponder on my ideas. So imagine there are two sides of your brain. One is this slightly drunk or delirious side of the brain, which is responsible for daydreaming and kind of mind-wandering and spontaneous action and all the swirl of ideas that happen in your brain. And the other is the more sober, rational, pragmatic counterpart, which actually keeps it in check. It's like the brake pedal, which directs these swirl of ideas. So motherhood has actually given me that brake pedal, because we all need time to reflect, time for reflection to be creative. When was the last time that you actually stepped away from social media or any form of technology? We are so rushed these days. We don't allow ourselves permission to slow down. We don't allow ourselves permission to stop and think. And that is really important to actually allow for the creative ideas to emerge. When the next time you think that you're not being creative or you don't have any good ideas, think that whether you're suppressing your ideas because you're afraid that people might laugh at them or they might not be original enough. But people who don't come up with good ideas don't have bad ideas either. It's really important to come up with bad ideas, because when you have bad ideas, then you will also have that moment, that aha moment, that magical moment of true original creativity, that creative spark that can drive innovation. So give yourself time for solitude and for boredom. We don't allow ourselves to get bored, do we? And it's that solitude, that daydreaming, that's really responsible to develop a creative habit. And, we are so rushed that we are actually so looking at all the extrinsic reward system, that email that pops into our inbox, or that like on Facebook, that we are so motivated by these extrinsic rewards that we do not take time to develop that intrinsic reward system, that internal reward system that can actually help us create happiness, because we are motivated by something that's inside us, that doesn't always think about the end in mind. The process is not just a means to the end. The process is really important. So when do we give ourselves time to actually enjoy the process? To enjoy that process of making mistakes, the process of actually coming up with ideas, process of actually putting them into action, thinking of bad ideas and good ideas, and the process of actually making these ideas into reality. So I started from a really low point in my life. And it took a lot of courage to rediscover my creativity and to develop a creative habit. It kept me sane. It made me happy. It made me an accidental entrepreneur. And it also made me an evangelist for creativity. So, next time, are you prepared to think about what creativity can do for you? You just have to be brave. Thank you.